Remember how we talked about tariffs being a kind of economic chess match? Well, what if I told you there's a whole new chessboard being built, one where the US might not even be the main player anymore? That new chessboard is called BRICS. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. At first, it sounded like just another acronym, but today it's shaping up to be a direct challenge to the way the world trades, banks, and does business. And here's the kicker. If BRICS succeeds, tariffs might end up being the least of America's worries. Why was BRICS created? To understand BRICS, we need to rewind to 2009. The world was still recovering from the global financial crisis. The US and Europe dominated global finance, while developing nations felt sidelined. Institutions like the IMF and the World Bank were heavily influenced by Washington and Brussels, leaving countries like Brazil, India, and China with little say in how the global economy was run. So these rising powers decided to band together. At first, BRICS looked more like a political club, lots of meetings, big speeches, but not much real action. Their economies were so different that progress was slow. But fast forward to today, and the game has changed. Why BRICS matters now? With US sanctions, ongoing trade wars, and more countries questioning the dollar's dominance, BRICS has found a new sense of urgency. They're no longer just talking. They're pushing for real alternatives, trading in local currencies, building their own payment systems, and even discussing the possibility of a shared BRICS currency to rival the dollar. Why create a BRICS currency? Here's the big issue. Almost all global trade, from oil to electronics, is priced in US dollars. That means Brazil, India, or South Africa can't simply use their own money. They need to keep giant reserves of dollars in their central banks, like a mandatory foreign wallet, just to shop in the global marketplace. But this reliance comes at a cost. Since the dollar system is controlled by American banks and regulators, BRICS nations are always exposed to US decisions. Sanctions, frozen assets, blocked transactions. Just look at what happened to Russia. Overnight, a country can be cut off from the global system. A BRICS currency, or even trading directly in local money, is seen as a financial shield, a way to say, we don't want our future decided in Washington. Can BRICS actually succeed? On paper, BRICS looks unstoppable. Together, they represent over 40% of the world's population and nearly a quarter of global GDP. They also control vast natural resources, oil, gas, farmland, and rare earth metals. But here's the catch: unity. Each member is very different. China is the world's factory. India thrives on technology and services. Russia leans on oil and gas. Brazil's strength is agriculture. South Africa has a much smaller economy compared to the rest. Add political rivalries, like China and India often clashing, and suddenly, building one common currency doesn't look so simple. So while BRICS has the size and resources to succeed, the real test is whether they can stay united long enough to make it happen. How BRICS could reshape world trade. Right now, the dollar acts as the world's middleman in trade. Want to buy oil? Pay in dollars. Need food imports? Dollars again. BRICS wants to cut out that middleman. Imagine India buying Russian oil in rupees and rubles, no dollars involved. That means lower costs, fewer conversion fees, and less risk of US sanctions. If more countries start doing this, demand for the dollar could slowly shrink. Over time, the global system might shift from dollar-dominated to multi-currency. That would be a historic shift in how the world does business. What this means for the US and the dollar ceiling. For decades, the US dollar has been the undisputed king of global trade. This role as the world's reserve currency gives America enormous advantages. It can borrow money more easily, it can finance its economy by printing dollars, and it can weaponize the dollar through sanctions. But if BRICS builds a true alternative, those advantages could fade. Demand for dollars would drop, borrowing could become more expensive, and sanctions would lose their bite. For everyday Americans, this might mean higher prices for imports, weaker purchasing power, and an economy that doesn't have the same global cushion it once did. To be clear, the dollar won't collapse tomorrow. It's still the most trusted and stable currency in the world. But BRICS is planting seeds that could slowly chip away at US dominance. Final thoughts. So that's the story of BRICS, why it was formed, what it's trying to build, and how it could reshape the balance of global power. But here's the million-dollar question. Is BRICS the start of a new world order, or just a lot of talk with little action? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. And if you found this breakdown helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. Because in today's world, economics isn't just about money. It's about power, politics, and the future we're all stepping into.